Serena Winters, Bally Sports. Hey, Coach, last night after we talked to you, Jarrett Allen actually took complete accountability for the rebounding. And I just want to know from you, like, what does that say about who he is as a player and as a leader?
I mean, that's the growth that we've talked about in his transformation. From a role player to someone, we depend on to a leader. And each one of these guys has a different responsibility to this team. And his willingness to take that on himself, shows how much he cares about this team. But I will counter that, and we have to help Jarrett. We asked Jarrett to block shots, contest shots, challenge shots. And when he's doing that, somebody has to protect him. So that's something, as a team, we got to continue to improve upon. But again, Jarrett wants to see this team be successful, and he's willing to do whatever it takes. And that's, a leadership role. That's the dirty work on the court in order to make this team as good as it can possibly be. So, that's the group of guys that we have. And that's why, our chemistry and those things have been so special and so unique.
And last time you played this Kings team a month ago, you had 81 in that first half, but the Kings did battle back in the second half. Is keeping your foot on the gas for the full 48, is that part of the messaging for tonight's game?
It's a message for us all the time. And it's, we keep talking about these things. We keep growing, and we have to figure out ways to continue to grow. We have a young basketball team that hasn't experienced a lot of these things before. And, like that second quarter, I'll be honest with you, was one of the best quarters I've ever been a part of, in the NBA. But what you have to understand is the job's not done. And, part of that was, us exhaling at halftime because we had such a dynamic quarter. But our job is to play purposeful, disciplined basketball for 48 minutes all the time. So that's our message to our guys. And those are, again, they're learning experiences for us. And that's what we have to continue to do.
Why was that such a successful second quarter, that game?
I think, the crowd was into the game. Our defensive activity was at a high level. Our offensive transition from defense to offense, we played with a lot of bursts, and we were making shots. I think Jetty hit 4 threes in a row. We were getting lob dunks because we were getting out in transition. So I think there was just a ton of energy in the building. And, you go back, and obviously we watched that game to prepare for today. But, if you go back and see Kevin Love on the bench, he was having a hell of a time too. And there was, we were feeding off each other's energy. And I think that's who we have to be. But again, it's got to be purposeful, and it's got to be for 48 minutes.
Thank you so much, Coach.
Thank you.
JB, in general, with your guys' free throw percentage, how, I guess, is it something you guys focus on, because they in moments in games throughout this recent stretch, they've played a big role one way or the other of helping secure wins or being a factor in a loss. So how much do you guys focus on that aspect of that is an opportunity to help you guys win a game?
I mean, we work on free throws and pressure situations after every practice, because we understand, again, that's free money. And, the way the game is called, there's not as many free throws as there's been in the past. So when you get an opportunity, you got to shoot a high percentage. But we just, we have to make free throws. It's that simple. And, we put the time in, the guys work, tirelessly at it. So, when you get the opportunity, you got to knock them down, because they do matter and they mean a ton.
And I know it's only been 2 games in the practice as well, but how have you seen Rondo just, you guys finding the flow of offense with him on the floor, kind of being, having an opportunity to do it in games? How helpful is that?
I mean, he is, a pro's pro, and he's a coach's point guard. He's the guy who literally you can hand the ball to and go sit on your hands as a coach, because he can organize, he can structure, he can find mismatches, he can target the hot shooter or the big guy who hasn't got a touch in a while, or whatever it is. He can orchestrate the game. With that, and when you're talking about building team, though, you know, understanding each other's strengths and weaknesses is something that takes time, and it's something that you can't necessarily hash out in practice, right? So you have to play games against opponents, different schemes, different systems to figure out, you know, how this guy can manipulate that and what his strength is versus that. So, you know, it's still a work in progress. You know, but again, it's a guy with such a high IQ that he can figure it out quickly. Mhm.
Go deep. Go deep. You pass me the ball. All right, go ahead, Mark.
I think they're calling on me. JojiCavs.com. Coach, just one quick one. You didn't have him for very long, but what are your memories of Tristan Thompson?
I mean, you know, we all love T-Top, and he's hard, you know, not to love. You know, the thing that stands out in my mind is the plays that he makes during winning time. You know, obviously we had that stretch late, you know, before the season was canceled, where we were winning some games, and he was big in fourth quarters. And, you know, the thing that you remember is with Tristan, it doesn't have to be a basket. You know what I mean? Like, he would make the winning block shot. He would get the winning offensive rebound or defensive rebound. He would win the scrum, you know, to close the possession. And that's what you remember most about him, is that competitive fire. But then he's the type of person that every single day you just want to be around. You know, when you're with him, you know, he doesn't have a bad day, and he's always there to lift other people up. And that's why, you know, in a short period of time, he and I got pretty close pretty quickly.
Thanks, Coach.
We know you'll shoot it, Mark.
I never passed it. Darius Garland, how's he finding his leadership voice on this team when you look at your roster and you've got, you know, young talent there and all, and there are quote unquote several different mouths to feed? How has he managed that?
I mean, he's played well. And I think he's been extremely efficient. He's another guy who, you know, as soon as he got here, people engaged with him, and people want to be around him and want to play with him because, one, he knows how to manage the game and manage personalities and make sure that everybody gets theirs. But there's a unique spirit about him where people just want to see him succeed. You know, and that's not coaching. That's not, you know, analytics. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the heart of and the emotion of the game and the spirit of the game. But he has that. And you see how his teammates feel about him. You know, you watch him take shots and his teammates cheer him on when he's taking those shots. You know, he'll pull up from three in transition, which, you know, old school basketball tells you that's a terrible shot, right? But his teammates are cheering him on when he pulls up and he takes them. You know, so I think that's, you know, it starts with his personality, but then, you know, he's figured out how to manipulate the game, and he knows how to make the right read. And if you make the right read over and over again, you know, your teammates trust and believe in you. And, you know, that's where it started for him, is his performance on the floor, and then his confidence grew, and then his words and his voice grew as well.
How much did the USA basketball experience impact?
A ton. You know, it's one of those things where, you know, as a young player and you're growing, and then you get to the cream of the crop and you realize that you fit in. And then once you realize you fit in, you know, you start to look at, with no disrespect, the rest of the league, you know, in a different way, and that you belong in the conversation with the elite. And I think, you know, that's what he was able to realize, is that, you know, he fits in, and he's played that way. You know what I mean? Like, you can't knock what he's done for our team. You know, he's played as an elite guard this year.
How do you, JB, kind of approach working Rondo and Darius in together? Do you want to see them a ton together early, or is it just kind of slowly having them have segments of time on the floor together?
I mean, we've got to get them on the floor together to figure out what works best with them. Obviously, we played Darius and Ricky a ton together, and we were able to close games with that lineup a lot, and we were pretty successful with that. You know, we believe the same can work with Doe and Darius. because, Darius is not just a threat with the ball in his hands. He's even more of a weapon when you can take him off the ball, and now people have to chase him and then get eyes and hands on him. So, we feel like it's a benefit to have them both on the floor together. Again, it's about chemistry and them understanding one another's strengths and weaknesses and how they put each other in positions of success.
Everybody good in here?
Is he okay after that play at the end of the game last night? He wins after. Is he good to go for tonight?
Yeah, he's okay. Yeah.
All right, we'll wrap up with you, Christoph.